Okay.
All right.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jessica Schwartzer. I am the co-chair along with my wonderful co-chair who is helping me on the technical side tonight. That would be Naomi Lawrence Lee. We are our co-chairs for the Connect series. It's part of the Graduate Student Committee for Division A of AERA. So I gave you a lot of acronyms there. So hopefully we can kind of go through and dispel what all of those acronyms mean. Tonight you are joining us for a webinar titled Welcome to AERA Division A, Who We Are, What We Do, and How to Get Involved. Tonight we have several panelists with us. First off, we have Dr. Scott Bauer, who is joining us from George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. He's a professor and he's also director of the Division of Education Leadership. He is also our AERA Division A program chair. Dr. Bauer, if you want to give a little hello, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on your biography, go for it.
Oh, I'm fine with the biography. Welcome. Glad you can tune in whenever you're tuning in on our recording. And Jess, why don't you go ahead and finish the introductions and we can launch in.
Sure. Also joining us today, we have Dr. Tara Benzant Chambers. She's an associate professor at Michigan State University at the Urban Education program. I believe that's correct. She's also our AERA Division A secretary. Tara, if you want to give us a little hello, let us know you're there.
I'm here. So happy to be joining you all this evening, and yeah, excited to talk about all of the great ways that you can get involved in AERA and AERA can give back to you. So I'm excited.
Perfect. And also joining us this evening, she should be with us shortly, is Emma Bullock. She is our AERA Division Graduate Student Committee Senior Representative. She's coming on with us from Utah State University. She is a doctoral candidate right now. She's finishing up her dissertation in mathematics, education, and leadership. So when she jumps on here, we can get her to give us a little shout out here. Naomi, did you want to give us a little bit of a background of yourself before we move on?
Certainly. I'm here in the great state of Texas, attending Texas Southern University Education Administration. This is my first year with AERA, and I'm quite excited. My background has been a business and finance background. However, I've always had a great interest in education and with the focus in higher ed. So I'm happy to be able to participate and learn more and certainly meet all these distinguished panelists. Yes, thank you.
Great. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessica Schwartzer. I'm coming to you from George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, outside of the DC metro area. I am a doctoral student in the Education Leadership Department. My research focusing mostly on looking at race and leadership and also at culturally competent leadership and also qualitative research methodologies. So like I said, we are representing AERA Graduate Student Committee. Naomi and I are. AERA, for those of you who don't know, is the American Educational Research Association. This is a national research society that strives, coming from our website, strives to advance knowledge about education, to encourage scholarly inquiry related to education, and to promote the use of research to improve education and serve the public good. Within AERA, there are several divisions. We are representing Division A, which is all about educational leadership. So I guess where we can get started is if at any time, Dr. Bauer, Dr. Benzant Chambers, if you would like to kind of give us an overview of what Division A is all about and what your role is specifically in Division A.
Okay.
Go ahead, Scott.
Division A is the oldest division in AERA, I'm told. Tara can can probably tell you that we have approximately 3,000 members, just shy of that. And Division A, the original AOL, covers administration, organization, and leadership. And from the website says Division A supports an examination of sources and types of PK-12 education leadership, including school and district leaders and other formal and informal leaders inside and outside of schools, and the effects of leadership on educational institutions and staff, and on student learning outcomes. Division A has gone through many changes over the years, the most recent of which really focusing on the infusion of a focus on leadership, who leaders are, how leaders are developed, and the kinds of leaders that we need to promote equity, social justice, and educational excellence for all kids. We should note that among the other divisions in AERA, Division J studies higher education contexts, including higher education leadership and organization, and Division L covers educational politics and policy, which is really a closely linked area of study for lots of our members.
Okay. Tara, did you want to add anything to that?
I mean, I think that Scott did a really good job of giving an overview. Can you hear me? Am I okay?
We can hear you.
I think the only thing that I would add, especially as being germane to this conversation, is the number of opportunities that graduate students have to become involved in Division A. That's not something that's universally true across all of the divisions. And so not just the involvement of graduate students, but how involved graduate students are in the leadership of the organization and in running their own events. That's something that really stands out among our division. And I know I'm particularly proud of the things that students have accomplished. So that's the only thing that I would add, I think. But I'm probably missing something. So Jessica, Naomi, please feel free to fill in where we have forgotten.
Okay. I think you guys gave a great overview on AERA and Division A, what we're all about. I think for the purposes of most of our viewers are going to be graduate students. And one of the things that very much, and for myself, that I was a little confused on, was the difference in what makes Division A different from the other, I guess, the other divisions that are within AERA. And in addition to that, in Division A is broken down into several sections. So the sections, a lot of times, especially when it comes to creating proposals for the AERA convention, you're never quite sure where your proposal fits. So if you guys want to talk a little bit about those differences in the different divisions, what sets Division A apart? We kind of touched on that already a little bit, but I guess more of the section varieties within Division A.
Okay. Well, I'll leave Scott to talk about the section divisions. I'll just say a little bit about that. But what I'll say about what is Division A? What is all of this Division A through L business? AERA, the organization, is huge. I think there are, I don't know, something like 20,000 members or something like that. And I remember very distinctly the very first AERA that I attended and feeling very overwhelmed by the sheer amount of people and trying to get this big book. Now you have this electronic version that's easier to navigate, but back in the day you just had that big book that you would go through, and so it could be really intimidating. And I was really grateful when someone explained to me the division and SIG system, so I could try to find a home within this larger, huge educational community. I think what's great about AERA is that everybody can find a home. Like, you find your people at AERA, and when you're at your home institution and maybe no one is doing what you do, or there's not anyone who understands the methodology that you're using or the particular lens that you're drawing from, someone at AERA will, right? We're big enough that we cover everything. But that can also be very overwhelming. So the divisions are where your main academic home might be. Scott did a good job of talking about Division J. Division L is politics and policy. I am a member of Division A, L, and G, social context. And then we also have these special interest groups that are even more specific than just your discipline, but get into really the nitty gritty of the things that you're interested in. And I, as a true nerd, get really excited about joining all kinds of special interest groups. So I have joined quite a few, and as a grad student, maybe not as many as I would have liked because of financial constraints. But every year I seem to find a few more that I just have to become a part of. And those are a great way to break down this huge conference and get to know a very small group of people. That worked for me with the tracking and detracking SIG and the leadership for social justice SIG in particular. I really got to know key figures in my field, and that was instrumental in my own development. So it's very important for you, if as you get to know AERA, to just take a look at those different divisions, to find special interest groups that you're interested in, and just go to the business meetings, go to their sessions. You'll see a lot of people that you cite in your papers, and it's kind of like our meeting celebrities, right? Is when you get to see, oh my gosh, that's Gloria Ladson Billings, and oh my gosh, that's Michael Dantley. Like you get excited about, at least I geeked out about these kinds of things. So that's what I would say about the divisions and the SIGs. And then there are these sections. We're getting advanced now with the different sections that you can submit your proposal to. So if you're listening, like I said, I'm gonna let Scott talk about it. But if this is all new to you, I would just say don't worry about the sections so much. Focus on the divisions and the SIGs, but it does get very important when you submit your proposal. So that's where this is important, but don't get overwhelmed. Scott, do you have something else to add here?
Well, I'll jump in. I'll jump in and talk about the sections, and I also want to give a shout out to our section chairs for the 2017 meeting.
Oh yeah.
Last weekend we had our program meeting on site in beautiful scenic Reston, Virginia. I apologize to members of the committee for not picking a more glamorous place. There are 5 sections within Division A, and I'm going to do these backwards because Section 1 always gets all of the press. Section 5 is devoted to all things related to leadership development. The section chair for this coming year is Cristobal Rodriguez from Howard University. Section 4, school contexts and school communities. Terry Watson from City College, New York was section chair, or is a section chair this year. Section 3 has to do with school improvement, leadership for school improvement. Jessica Rigby, University of Washington, was the section chair. Section 2 has to do with school organization and effects. Ebony Bridwell Mitchell at Harvard is a section chair. And Section 1 is just entitled Leadership. And for that reason, a lot of people submit a very wide range of material to Section 1. And so we have 2 co-section chairs, Daniel Reyes-Guerra from Florida Atlantic University and David Brazier from Stanford University. The import of the sections, as Tara said, is really about understanding to what area you're going to submit a paper, because papers are reviewed for the annual meeting within the section that you've proposed your paper. The call for submissions, which is put out right at the beginning of the call for AERA involvement in the summer, a year prior to the annual meeting, has a full description of what each section is involving and what we're looking for. All of the sections except research from any methodological tradition. So this isn't really about methodology as much as it's about a content fit. Section 1 on leadership is very broadly construed, whereas Section 3, for example, on school improvement might not be a good home for a paper that deals with social context, whereas in Section 4 that would be a good home. So that's the strategizing that goes on in relation to the sections, and the individual section heads, the section chairs, create the program from the papers that are submitted. The other thing to think about in terms of involvement I'll put out a call for reviewers and a call for participants in serving as a chair during the annual meeting and serving as a discussant. There are different kinds of sessions at AERA. I am so immersed in this after last weekend. I'll be very brief. There are symposia and paper sessions which deal with sets of papers on a like topic. A symposium is different than a paper session because the symposium, the person proposing proposes a full session, whereas a paper session, the section chairs develop. There are also roundtables and poster sessions and a variety of other kinds of sessions. AERA is very clear and has been very clear with us that all four of those types are equally credentialed, and a paper is a paper is a paper in AERA. As you consider what you'd like to contribute and how you'd like to be involved as a scholar in AERA, you should think about what the best fit is for you in terms of the section and in terms of how you would like to present and get feedback on your paper.
I think those are great points. Can I just say two quick things to add? The first is that I think the trickiest thing about AERA and submitting a proposal is the section that you want to submit to. And even beyond AERA Division A and the different sections here, there are the other divisions that you can sometimes, think about submitting to. There are also all of the SIGs that you can submit a paper to. And while, of course, we're encouraging you to submit your work to Division A, it may be that your work is a good fit for another place. And so this is where you want to rely on your mentors. Don't be afraid to ask people. I get this question probably most of anything else from my graduate students or from people who have questions of me is, where do I submit this? Where do you think would be a good fit for this paper idea that I have? I've got everything else figured out. I followed all the rules. I followed the outline, but I don't know where to submit it. That's a perfectly legitimate question to ask someone at your institution, to reach out and ask somebody else. Also, if you're really not sure and you don't have somebody to ask, or you haven't gotten a clear answer, it's perfectly fine to email the section chairs. Their email information is usually included right there in the call for proposals. And so you should feel free to contact the section chair and just say, hey, I have a paper on such and such topic. Do you think it would be a good fit? I promise you they will be happy to help you figure that out. It seems really intimidating, and sometimes I remember as a grad student seeing these names and thinking, like, I'm not going to email them. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. The other thing is just to underscore Scott's point about submitting to especially roundtables and poster sessions. Back in the dark ages when I was a graduate student, I feel like it was easier to get on the program and get a paper accepted. And as time has gone on and the expectations around research and rigor have increased, it's harder to get on the schedule. And so I absolutely encourage my students to submit poster sessions, to submit roundtables. They're great experience. You get really good feedback. I have been really impressed with the way those sessions have been organized so that you do get meaningful feedback there. So definitely take advantage of the wide range of presentation options that you have through AERA.
Okay, so for those of you who are brand new to AERA and you're wondering, what are we talking about, this annual meeting, this convention? So we have one once a year. So the one coming up in 2017, it's the last weekend of April, is going to be held in San Antonio, Texas. And that's where all these different divisions come together, Division A, as well as all the other ones, all the way through A through L. And all these different SIGs meet. SIG stands for Special Interest Groups. There are tons of them, as our panelists have mentioned already. Now, you can submit a paper to present in various different formats during the convention. And I know we've kind of been talking extensively about what division to submit it to, and then within each division, which section to submit it to, and which special interest group you could also possibly submit it to, and how to get in contact with the head of those different committees so you can find that right right fit, just because there are so many papers that are submitted. And I know a lot of times it does depend on that fit. Not that it may not have been a good paper, it's that fit, which is really important, especially when you're on a panel. You want to find papers that have a similar theme, so that way there's some sort of flow through them, and it makes sense to the people who are coming to these different sessions. So participating in the convention, though, is not just submitting a paper. You can go just to learn, to network. Dr. Bauer, you had mentioned that other ways you can get involved in that process is becoming a reviewer of people who are submitting papers, reviewing their papers, but also becoming a chair or a discussant. Can you, I know for myself that when I saw the call go out for a chair or discussant, I was a little unsure whether or not my being just a lonely doc student, whether or not I had the level of expertise to be able to participate in that. So if we kind of had a little bit of a better understanding of what is involved in those roles, maybe we could possibly get more people on board and join with that.
Okay. I will start by saying you absolutely have every reason to volunteer to be a reviewer. And I'll explain, sort of demystify the entire process. There are two different kinds of review panels. There are graduate student review panels, and there are review panels of full AERA members who are scholars in the field. And the section chairs will assign papers to be reviewed from a review panel of scholars in the field based on the content area of a paper and the reviewer's expertise. And they may also assign graduate students to review a paper. So those things happen in parallel. AERA does not allow the reviews from graduate student panel members to mathematically count in the reviews of papers, whether the papers are written by graduate students or scholars in the field. So this is an ideal place for graduate students to participate, to get a feel for the organization, to read some scholarship that's emerging. Something else we haven't mentioned that folks new to AERA wouldn't have any reason to know is that the call for proposals and the call for reviewers comes out right after the meeting, and usually in late May or early June. The deadline for submissions of proposals is mid to late July. And during that entire period, you can go on the AERA website and volunteer to be a graduate student reviewer, because soon after that deadline in mid-July, the section chairs are sending papers out to be reviewed. And from a section chair's perspective, or former section chair's perspective, it was fantastic to have reviews from graduate students. Many of you are active professionals in school organizations and experienced educators, experienced leaders in the field, and having that feedback really does balance out the review process. It's relatively painless. It's an investment of your time. It is blind. It's a double-blind process. The author doesn't know who's on the review panel, and the review panel doesn't know who submitted a proposal. And proposals are approximately 2,000 words in length, so something in the area of 6 or 7 typewritten pages. So it's not horrendously onerous to go through the review process. As far as volunteering to be a chair or a discussant, certain kinds of sessions may have a discussant assigned to them. A discussant's responsibility is to read the papers that are being delivered in the session and provide commentary during the session. Usually, a discussant gets between 12 and 18 minutes to try to pull some threads across the different papers and talk about them in terms of how the papers contribute to scholarship in the field. Only paper sessions and symposia can have a discussant. All sessions have a chair. A chair's role is much simpler than a discussant's. The chair's responsibility is literally to convene the session, to be a timekeeper, to introduce the papers as the session proceeds, and to thank everybody for coming to this session. And I am quite sure that everybody can do this job. And it's a great way to get involved in the program and to network and be visible as you're immersed, as Tara said, as one of the nerds at AERA. I pride myself in nerddom, Tara. I'm with you.
Yes.
But I always have the same impression. Tara mentioned earlier about AERA. I remember the early meetings I went to, but I have this feeling now. We're talking about close to 20,000 people and something in the area of 2,000 papers being delivered in the space of 5 or 6 days. It's exhausting. It's overpowering, and it's delightful. It's a wonderful experience. But being involved as a chair and certainly as a reviewer is a way to feel a part of the community of scholars that comes into being at AERA and after.
Wow, I think that's really helpful. And I think I have a few other things to share. I think I'll focus on other things other than the specific ways to be involved that Scott has outlined. I think there are first question I have, and we've talked about this a little bit too, is, why should you be involved in Division A? Like, that's sort of a separate question. And then corollary to that is, so then, okay, now that I know why, then how do I do it? For me, I entered Division A from another field. My background is more in social context and educational policy. And it was a happy accident, I'll call it that way, of me moving into educational leadership. And so coming to Division A was instrumental to me kind of getting socialized into the field, even though at that point I was already faculty. So that's one reason why. Another reason, for those of you who are graduate students in particular, is to network. And regardless of what your plans are once you finish your degree, not all of you will go on to become faculty members, and that's great. We still want you to become a part of our research community. And the connections that you make at AERA will serve you well regardless of where you're going with your particular career path, okay? So the networking is important. And then if you know me, then I always say the other reason to be involved is because you're not a graduate student. You are an apprentice. And my students will tell you that I always say, you can't look at yourself as a graduate student. You look at yourself as an apprentice. And as a faculty member, my job is to do research, teaching, and service. And so you're learning this trade of becoming a professor, those of you who are looking to become faculty. And so you're learning how to do those things. You're an apprentice in research, teaching, and service. And AERA is an important part of your socialization process, and at least two of those areas, research and service. And to some degree, I would say teaching too. So it's important for you to get involved from that perspective so you can get a sense of how people are interacting with the field. And that's an important part of the socialization process. So that's the why. And then so the how, I think Scott gave some great perspective on that part in terms of becoming a discussant or being involved in the reviewing process. All of that is absolutely true. And I think there are other ways to become involved too, especially if you're listening and you are a new student and all of these ideas of being a reviewer and everything, you can take advantage of that, but it might be intimidating to you. I encourage my first year students just to go to AERA, and hopefully you're in a financial position or at an institution that will support you just attending AERA for the first time without presenting. And if you can do that, there are a couple of things that I suggest you do. First, you get that big book, whether you do it electronically or you get the tree killing version, and you find one, people who do work that you do, right? That you like a topical area match. That's a good way to look at sessions. Two, you can find people whose work you've read in class. Maybe you've been talking about appreciative inquiry with and Megan Shannon Moran, and so you're going to look for some sessions with her. That's a great idea. Like, even if you're not sure what your research area is, you can find these people who you've been reading about in class and see what they're talking about in real life. Maybe there is a methodology that you're interested in, or you haven't learned quite enough about, or you think that you might specialize in yourself. Find some sessions that highlight that methodology. That's another good way to go. I've already talked about mentoring and networking, to look at those opportunities outside of the regular formal sessions. A lot of things happen between sessions or at business meetings and receptions. So the bonus for the receptions is that you get that mentoring / networking thing down, but you also get free food. And it's expensive to go to AERA. So I know that my grad school colleagues and I would like plan our meals around who's having a reception when, so we don't have to get dinner, right? We barely got ourselves to the conference and we are not budgeted for food. So we're going to have to eat at the reception. So that we know you're doing that. We plan for extra food at the reception so the grad students can get dinner. And that's a great way for you to get involved too. So that's just going to the conference. I also, encourage you to submit a poster or a roundtable or even a paper session or a symposium, as Scott talked about. And if you're not ready to do it by yourself, then talk with a faculty member about co-authoring something. I like to do that with my graduate students, and it doesn't have to be a grad student from my institution. I've co-authored with students at other institutions, and sometimes I've met those students at AERA, and they come to a session of mine, or they find me in a hallway, and we strike up a conversation, and it's an opportunity for us to move that to a more specific mentoring relationship where we might co-author something. So don't worry if there's no one at your own institution who you can identify as a mentor. Anyway, I always say that you should have a mentoring squad. So get your mentoring squad together, and some of those people you're going to meet at AERA, right? So there's a lot of reasons for you to go, get involved, get to know people, and just reach out. And if you're feeling isolated at your institution, know that this is what this conference is for you to find your people, whether they're graduate students at other places that you can connect with, whether they're faculty at other places. All of that is fair game, and that to me is the best part of going to the conference. Is just the social things, but they're professional social things. They're the things that we nerds just geek out over, right? Maybe no one else understands, but we understand. So I think those are my why I get involved and how to get involved main points. But you just dive in. That's the bottom line. Just go, immerse yourself, find a friend, and get in there.
And I agree. I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
No, I was going to suggest that one of our graduate student representatives talk about the things that go on at AERA that are sponsored by the graduate students.
Okay, I'm not sure if we have Emma with us. Emma, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Emma, yay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Great.
Awesome. I've been here for a little while, but I didn't want to interrupt anyone while they were talking.
So now I see the chat. Oh, I'm sorry.
Emma,
I apologize for not having my video.
Not a problem. Emma, if we were just talking with Tara and Scott more about Division A and how to get involved, the difference between the different sections, I guess if we'd like to shift now and talk a little bit more about the AERA Division A Graduate Student Committee, which you are the senior representative of. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to our audience and then tell us a little bit about what our committee's about, what are some of our initiatives and some of our events that we have planned for this upcoming school year.
Yes, I would be happy to do that. Thank you. Yeah, so my role as the senior graduate representative at Division A is to help support Division A in all of its mission, examining different sources and types of educational leadership, administrators inside and outside of schools. And And we have a number of initiatives to help graduate students at every level get involved. And so I'm just going to share some of the different ways that you can get involved, and hopefully you can find one that kind of rings true to you. And I would also encourage you getting involved, even if you're just a first-year doc student or a master's student. I think that we have a place for everybody to participate. So some of the things that one of the things that makes this unique is the diversity of ways in which you can participate. Out of all the divisions, I think Dr. Vincent Chambers mentioned this, we have the largest graduate student committee active in a lot of different ways. So some of the ways that you can get involved is the Connect series. This is one of the things that we do, where we have various webinars that discuss pertinent issues of the day. We're going to have a variety of topics going on throughout the year. This time, of course, we're focusing on welcoming you to AERA Division A, but we'll have other themes such as cultural competency in schools, homeless and refugee education, STEM leadership for marginalized students, and many other really interesting topics. So we invite you to get involved by watching these webinars, and we also archive them so that if you're unable to watch them live, you can go on to our website or the newsletter, and you can find them there for Division A. Some other ways that we have you get involved is through the UCEA publishing session. So this session takes place at the annual convention of the University Council for Educational Administration, and it's co-administered alongside Division L, which focuses on educational policy and politics. And UCEA is being held this year in November in Detroit. And during this session, which is always well attended, part of the reason probably because, again, we provide lots of food. But this is an opportunity for you to dialogue with a panel of students and faculty who have already a rich record in publishing and learn how to navigate the publish or perish realities of working in higher education. So getting involved in attending the publishing session will be going to CEA is another great way. We also have opportunities for students to help with communication. So our communications co-chairs, they help with our newsletter, with social media outreach, Twitter and Facebook, and they provide a lot of wonderful help with making sure that we're communicating well. We also have something called the Dialogic Forum, and so the Dialogic Forum is a fantastic way if you are new to a new doctoral student to receive in-depth feedback from faculty on your research progress. So what this is the Dialogic Forum is a pre-session event that allows anyone or allows who are accepted who are not presenting at AERA to share their research in progress. So last year we had 22 graduate students who were paired with outstanding faculty members that were able to receive feedback on their current research in a roundtable experience. So take a look for the call for the Dialogic Forum. Applications will be due in December, and substances are sent out in February. So that's a way to get some feedback on research, even when you're not quite publishable ready. In addition, we have something called the Foster Polite Scholarship. So hopefully many of you took the opportunity to apply to Division A or other states or other divisions to present at AERA this upcoming annual meeting. If you are members of Division A and you get accepted to present to Division A, then we have a scholarship that offers you a $500 stipend for 4 graduate students who are accepted. So as soon as those notices go out, we send out a call for applications. That's usually in December, and then we send out acceptances for those one of your proposals accepted at AERA. Then some other things that we do is our Division A fireside chat. And what this is at the AERA annual meeting, every student division plans a fireside chat with a focus on the current conference theme from the perspective of that division. So this year, we're really excited to have a fireside chat that's going to be focused on STEM education and school leadership and equitably accessing the playing field. And so we have a wide variety of scholars from around the country who are coming to address that issue. And I think that's going to be a really excellent fireside chat. So hopefully, if you're coming to AERA, you'll plan on coming to that session as well. And it's really lovely, it's a really nice intimate setting. You can ask these really recognized faculty members if you're interested in the topic, directly your questions, and it's a lovely atmosphere. So those are the different initiatives that we have ongoing in previous years. Another way that you can be involved is as a lead reviewer. Already talked about reviewing for Division A directly. You can also review on our committee for the Foster Life Fellowship and for the Dialogic Forum. So that's a great way to get some wonderful experience just reviewing. We use the same rubric that AERA does, and so that can be a great way to get your feet wet. So new initiatives that we have, we recently sent out, using our listserv, a call for publications that graduate students have published in relation to Division A. As part of the newsletter, we plan on helping to broadcast the different publications that our graduate students have published on the newsletter. And then we have a new initiative that we're currently working on where we'll have a peer review process for having student research published in the newsletter. So that'll be a really great process, especially for graduate students who are new to publishing, kind of break in and begin getting things published as well. So that's just a thumbnail sketch of all the different ways that the graduate students, Division A, are working hard to connect graduate faculty and to get involved in the field. If you're interested in being part of Division A GSC, we do send out calls for applications for junior graduate representative, and that's a 2-year term. You serve 1 year as the junior graduate rep, and then the second year as the senior graduate rep. And then, like I said, all those different areas, next series, PA Publishing Chair, Communication Style, Forum, Foster Polite, lead reviewers, some of our new publishing initiatives will all have shares. So there's many, many, many ways to get involved. So we send out those calls to the honor committee in February, and we make those decisions in March before the end. I think I've gone through everything pretty quickly.
That's
Thank
great.
you. Yeah, thank you, Emma. For those of you who are wondering and you want a little bit more information on how to get involved with the Graduate Student Committee and how to possibly become a member next year of that committee, we do have our website, which is aeradivision.org. You can find out a little bit more information of not only about Division A, but you can go to the Graduate Student Corner on that page. You will get to see, who are your representatives on this committee for the graduate students in Division A. But also to get more of a rundown of the things that Emma just mentioned, along with some of those deadlines. Also on that page, you will find a recording of this Connect series that we're watching right now, as well as an archive, a previous Connect series from our first year. Last year is when we began the Connect series. You're probably also wondering how to join Division A of AERA. You can go to aera.net. On that page, you will find a rundown of the different descriptions of all the different divisions, not only just Division A, but all the others. And kind of get a better idea of where you might fit. Maybe you're just exploring right now what Division A is all about, and that's great, but also take the time to look at other divisions and what they have to offer and find your fit and what your role could be, and you would apply through that website. I know I do have a few questions though for our panel. I know that we had mentioned already about UCEA, and for those of you who don't know, it's the University Council of Educational Administration, which is having their annual meeting in Detroit coming up the weekend before Thanksgiving this year. Can anybody on our panel talk a little bit about our relationship, AERA's relationship with UCEA, and how to possibly become involved with them, if you may know at all?
Okay, so I can take this one. So I kind of wear two hats for AERA Division A. I'm our secretary, and then on the UCEA side, I serve on our executive committee. So obviously, I see very strong connections between the two. But before we were talking about all of the divisions that there are in AERA, Division A through L. Each of those large divisions have their own conferences, basically, right? This is their subfield, and the same is true for us. So all of the Division A people are our major specific conference is UCEA. That's one way to look at it. Of course, it's not exact because there are some people who go to UCEA who don't go to AERA and vice versa. And it's not mandatory that you go to one or the other or both, right? It's just, it's a loose connection. And certainly there are other conferences that focus on education as well, right? Anyway, but there is a strong connection between UCEA and AERA. There are many crossover organizations and opportunities for graduate students. Two that I can think of off the top of my head are the Jackson Scholars, Barbara Jackson Scholars. These are students from minoritized groups who are selected for a scholarship to attend UCEA and AERA and receive one-on-one mentoring. It's one of our more prestigious organizations. The other, or opportunities, the other sort of prestigious group are the Clark Scholars. That also has kind of a connection across AERA and UCEA. That is a partnership between UCEA, AERA Division A, and Sage Publishing. There might be one other co-sponsor of that organization, I'm not sure. But anyways, also kind of a mentoring foundation. You are nominated from your institution, same as Barbara Jackson Scholars, and a select group are selected based on research, interests, where you are in your program, how strong you are as a scholar, those kinds of things. And you get together actually happens at AERA at that conference, but the same kind of cross group mentoring happens there. You'll see a lot of the same faces when you go to UCEA and AERA Division A stuff. You kind of like you start to see a pattern in the people who go to those different activities. And certainly the Graduate Student Council for UCEA and the committee for AERA Division A, while they're not overlapping, a lot of people are connected with both organizations. I'm probably missing some things, but there are clearly some strong ties. We try to create some consistency across one conference to the next. Yeah. Anyone else want to add some other things about UCEA and AERA Division A?
The only thing I would add about UCEA is going back to what it means to be a particular kind of nerd. UCEA is where you're going to have, in all likelihood, much more controlled, intimate conversations with people in our field.
Yes.
It's a much smaller conference. It's much more manageable. You're much more likely to be attending sessions that have 15 or 20 people instead of 80 or 100, which isn't that uncommon at AERA. They are very much complementary. I would encourage graduate students to try both flavors, but I think you will experience significant differences just because of the scope of AERA compared to UCEA. And one of the things you can do at AERA that you can't do at UCEA is purposefully attend sessions from that are delivered by scholars in other disciplines that connect to your work, that may be associated with studies of administration, organization, and leadership, but that wouldn't necessarily be present at UCEA. So the two forums have overlapping but not entirely the same role in your development.
Yeah, that's really true.
Okay, great. I also know too that UCEA, if you go check out their website, they also have a lot of opportunities too for graduate students to get involved, especially with their annual meeting. They do have a graduate student summit, which is also a great way for graduate students to get their work out there and to get feedback from scholars within our field of educational administration. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out their website. As far as any other questions, I don't have anything else for our panelists. Panelists, do you have any other questions for each other or for the graduate students that are here?
I want to thank all of you. And Emma mentioned the Dialogic Forum, which is something I had forgotten about, but participated in and enjoyed thoroughly. And Tara, thank you for bringing up both the Jackson and Clark scholar opportunities. These are really important opportunities for budding scholars, and I do encourage you to look at AERA.net and UCEA.org, both websites, and talk to your mentors, talk to your colleagues in your graduate program, people who might be a couple of years ahead of you in the program. See what they've relied on. And you know, the most important thing, I think I heard, I think Tara said it, is be planful when you attend the meetings, and put your inhibitions aside. From the perspective of a faculty member, nothing is more rewarding or enjoyable than when someone, whether it's a full-time faculty member or a graduate student, comes up and asks you about your work. And wants to chat about something that you're interested in and have spent your time and energy trying to learn something about. So put the inhibitions aside, and you might get a cup of coffee out of it.
I have something else to add as well for opportunities for graduate students. There is an overall AERA Graduate Student Council, which includes members of all the divisions. And if you become involved at the graduate student level with Division A or even other divisions, then you can have the opportunity to run for other type of offices like president or vice president at the AERA GSC. And they require that you have some experience already working within different divisions to be able to apply for those positions. And some of those positions are 2- and 3-year positions. So if you get involved really early in your doctoral experience, your first or your second year, then you leave yourself open to explore some of those further opportunities for leadership and to meet other faculty in a variety of fields. So there's so many opportunities. I just encourage you to get involved as soon as possible and to just not be scared about it. Just jump right in.
Thank you so much for that, Emma. So as you can see, there's a lot of ways that you could get involved with AERA, not only just our division, but within the entire organization. Again, please check out the website, aera.net, and also aeradivision.a.org to find out a little bit more about the ways that you can get involved. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Division A GSC and also on Facebook at AERA Division A Graduate Students. You'll find plenty of information, and there's ways to read our past newsletters as well. So if we don't have any other questions, I would like to thank our panelists for joining us this evening. Dr. Bauer, thank you for joining us. Dr. Van Zandt Chambers, again, we appreciate you joining us. Emma Bullock, joining us on the phone. Thank you again for taking the time to explain a little bit of ways that we can get involved. Like I said, it's a great way, and I think our panelists have brought together how getting involved is a great way not only to become socialized in your field, but also you can, find a mentor. You can get to know the people who are in your field, the people that you admire. I know for myself that the first time that I went to the AERA convention, I was very inspired, and I also was a little less intimidated about doing research, and I got to know a little bit more about what my capabilities were in order to get involved. So I encourage all of you to get involved and to join us back here for our Connect series. Again, our Connect series is we will be reading once a month in this webinar format. You can join us live, or you can also go on our webpage and look at our archive sessions. Next month, we are going to be talking about culturally competent leadership and ways that we can promote diversity as leaders in our field. Again, I want to thank you all for joining us. Are there any other closing comments that anybody would like to share?
The only thing that I will say in closing is if you are a person who you don't know who to reach out to, you don't have someone at your institution, and you just don't know who to contact, I won't speak for the other panelists, so I'm sure they feel the same way. You can feel free to reach out to me. You can email me. It's just tara@msu.edu, and I'm happy to help you. So don't feel afraid or intimidated. Even though this can feel very overwhelming and very intimidating to all of us, none of us are immune to the feelings of like, where am I and what's going on and why are there 7 million people in this room? If you're feeling that way, or if you see me or any of us walking around AERA or UCEA, just stop us and say, I'm overwhelmed, help me figure out what to do. That's what we're here for. So your graduate student representatives here have you in good hands, so I'm sure you won't be feeling that way because you'll be very well prepared. But in case you are, know that we're here for you.
Thank you. That is perfect. That's exactly how I feel.
Thank you. Okay, well, Naomi, I would like to thank you for your technical assistance in helping us this evening. My wonderful co-chair would again like to thank you all for joining us. And hopefully I will see you all soon at the different events and meetings that we have coming up.
Motor City, see y'all in Detroit.
Yeah, I'll see you in Detroit. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye, everybody.